Digital Storybook by Diane Vincent. Each year I attempt to teach composition to my digital photo classes through different methods, and this year I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try to change the students' behavior and the way they attempt to take photographs and what they look at before they take their photographs. Most students want to just simply point their camera, shoot, and expect to have this wonderful photograph that's ready for publication in any magazine. Most of the time, their photos come back and the students' photos represent just clips of their friends and the goofy things they do around school. I want them to be able to take those goofy photographs, but then also have them something to bring back something that could possibly end up in a magazine. I send the students out with their cameras so that they can get used to the equipment and begin to take photographs so that we can have something to have for a discussion. The students go out into the playground or around the school, and I allow them to just take photographs of different things, discuss what they're taking, and look at how the photographs look when they're done. Some of the examples they bring back are pretty interesting, but boring. So we take those photographs, we look at them, and look at the different ways and the angles that they've taken the photographs. Sometimes we get lucky, and we get some that have some pretty interesting things, and then we're back to the other. I ask them to take pictures of portraits, and then once we're done with all of these, we start breaking them down. We draw lines on the photographs to see if they fit in any certain category, and I've introduced the students to the rule of thirds. We draw lines on photographs, and we try to use the optimal points of the rule of thirds, where we look at a portrait of a person, and then if we take that person and draw lines, does that portrait fit into the rule of thirds where you have these optimal places? And then we look at the angles. Did we take the photograph the right way the first time, or should we have changed our angle? Then I have the students do a little research. They look for pointers, flipping through books, magazines. Then they frame without a camera, and back to using a camera to see whether or not we can actually apply what we've learned about the rule of thirds. I send them back out to the playground and have them start taking more photographs again so that we can bring them back and see what kind of photographs we've taken, breaking them down again with the lines of the rule of thirds. There are certain points in a composition that will help you to decide whether or not you've actually taken a good photograph. So I do that with the students. We spend a lot of time breaking our photographs down. How do we get a good scenery photograph with a person in it? Where do we place that person in that photograph? Do they hit the corners, the magic 4 corners in the rule of thirds? Then we send them back out and we start taking photos again. And of course, being middle school students, we also try to get pictures of ourselves. But when we do that, did we do that in the rule of thirds as well? So we break that picture down and see, does that work? And I want the students to be able to take photographs and make good photographs. And sometimes we still have trouble and go back to the drawing board of looking at our photographs. Does that make a good photograph? And they go back and look at their photographs and start taking more. Then we start looking again at the rules, and if the rules do they always apply? So the students have a good opportunity here to take some interesting photographs, break those photographs down, and conclude whether or not they make for good photographs. Does a curvy path work well in the rule of thirds? Or should they have used a straight path to take that same photograph? Which one works best? Students here have the opportunity to go out into a medieval settings at times to take photographs away from school, and the opportunities that exist for them to take really great photos of things that they don't see in the States are there. So the students are constantly going out and being able to practice their skill. But this is the first year that I've taken it into the depth that I have and tried to change their behavior so that every time they take a photograph, I force them or force the issue that once they're done with that photograph, they have to draw lines on it and see, did that photograph meet the criteria of the rule of thirds? Does the rule of thirds help their composition? Overall, after looking at the photographs that the students have taken and come back with, I think I'm pretty successful this year, and this is something I think I'll be doing again and again to more detail and more compositionally appropriate methods so that students can actually come back with that wonderful photograph that could possibly end up the cover of a magazine, a travel magazine that is, because they do a lot of traveling while they're here at our location, which they can't see these kind of pictures anywhere else. But they can also, even on their own at their own school, like this photograph, get a great composition from just being around. I'd like to thank my students for always being willing to take in the information and photograph and photograph and photograph until they get it right. I'd also like to thank my instructors for having the patience with me with getting this task accomplished. Thank you.